Dude, I can't believe we're doing this right now.
How prepared are you for this podcast?
Are you already recording?
Yes.
Oh. Guys, we're back!
Hello!
Oh my gosh! This is a monumental, 6 months later.
It's
Here
been
we are.
84 years!
Okay, that was dramatic.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, I feel like we're the Jonas Brothers. You know, we're back together.
How long were the Jonas Brothers not together?
Okay, well, not for, it was more than 6 months, but...
Oh. It's like One Direction.
But that's horrible. They'll never be together again.
That's a touchy
Yeah,
subject.
maybe it's too soon for that. Too soon.
Anyway, hello and welcome to the podcast of M&K Unscripted. Today, we are coming back with Dating and Donuts Part 3 for a couple of reasons, I think. We talk about dating a lot just in our personal lives, so I feel like it's a fun topic to come back on, something easy to get the podcast back going again. People seem to like the dating parts 1 and 2, so this is kind of a little incentive, I thought, to get people to listen to the podcast again. And I feel like both Kelly and I would agree that in the last year, there's just been a lot of growth and maturing when it comes to relationships and dating. And I feel like our perspectives have changed in the last year from the last time we did the part 1 and 2.
Yeah, both Megan and I didn't listen to this part 2, but I started listening to part 1 and I already was like, oh, I think I'm disagreeing with myself. And I think we've grown a little bit in what we think about dating now.
Which is good.
Which totally makes sense because also so much has changed in our lives, just in general, in your 20s, this time of year. I don't know what I'm talking about.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
I don't know. I don't know what I was saying, but I'm just saying we've changed our perspectives. We've learned, we've grown. We're becoming adults, even though we already were adults. And we're excited to be back and share some of our different insights on dating. And we hope that you are so excited that you saw this on whatever social media platform that you found out about this podcast release. Yeah.
I think it's gonna be good. I feel like we'll have to have a conversation off microphone about how often we'll be coming back with podcasts. I feel like the regularity of having it every week in the spring was a bit stressful once our lives started getting busier with different things. And so that could be part of the reason why we had a little hiatus. But I feel like we're back, ready to go, and we'll see how often we can post. But
yeah, back and better than ever, I will say.
Yes.
At least for me.
Yeah.
Megan, do you agree?
Yes, I would agree.
Yes.
Before we get going on dating and all the things we want to talk about, should we talk about donuts since this is the third time we will be talking about donuts? Should we just honorarily acknowledge the fact that
let's just acknowledge that it's donuts, but I feel as if my opinions have not changed on donuts, and I feel like that's old news.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree.
Look like you're thinking.
I was trying to think, have my opinions changed about donuts, and the answer is no. So I think it's fine that we could just roll into dating because I feel like opinions and experiences have changed with dating in the last year, and that will probably be more entertaining to us and the listeners. Would you agree, Kelly?
Oh, yeah. I would certainly agree. Oh, my gosh. What do we want to start with here?
This is good. I'm a little nervous. I don't know. What do you want to start with?
Well, maybe I just want to say, one thing that I was listening to myself back, however long ago it was, of something I've changed my mind on. In the first podcast, I said, you don't have to call it a date for it to be a date. And I disagree. I think that being super clear about your intentions just frees up so many questions, so much overthinking. Just explicitly saying what is going on is so helpful. And I feel like, back then, as if it was that long ago, I just was like, oh, no, it's fine if you don't call it a date. No, I think you need to. I just feel like there's too much wishy-washy in the world, and I feel like we just need to be so honest.
I feel like I would agree, because I don't remember what my opinion was before. My opinion, I guess, is still that. I feel like it's important to communicate intentions, especially with the age we are and the age we're in. Mm-hmm. I feel like we're 23 now. We have a lot of friends that are in their upper 20s, and I think we're both dating to marry. We're not just dating to have a good time and I don't know, just like have nothing come of it in however long we're dating. Like I feel like we both have goals of marriage, and I feel like it's really important to go into dating and a relationship with clear intentions. And I feel like it just like sets the precedent of like clear communication for the rest of the relationship, which maybe we can talk about later. I did write down um, a little thing about that. But yeah, I would agree. I think it's really important. And also, I feel like in the age we're in, when I said that, I meant like social media. Snapchat is confusing. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day about just issues with romantic people, we'll say. And like, I don't know, it's just so difficult to have conversations over texting, over Snapchat, like if you're messaging somebody, like so many things can get misconstrued when you're just like typing out words. And so I feel like it's really important to establish clear connection and clear communication early on.
Can we? I feel like this is a good transition into something I had on my list about the concept of dating to marry. I
Ooh.
want to talk about the positives and the negatives and what we kind of see as the point of dating. And because I just have like, I have some things to say about dating to marry.
Yeah, you know, we were talking about that literally at lunch today, and I was going to ask you a question, and I was like, I was like, let's unpack that when you were talking about like
Mm.
dating to marry, and I was like, actually, no, let's save it for the podcast.
Okay,
So
well then what's the question?
I'd love to talk about that. See, now I don't exactly remember the question. Oh, no, we were talking about the concept of like dating to marry puts so much pressure on like the first couple dates with someone. Like, and I think I made a comment at lunch today of like, it's okay for the first couple months to not necessarily like put that pressure on yourself. So is that still considered like dating to marry if you just want to get to know someone in the first couple months? What are your thoughts on that? Like, and what do you mean maybe by dating to marry? Can we
Mm-hmm.
define that too?
So I've always said date to marry, but I've never like I've thought about what it meant like as a big concept of yes, like I don't just see dating to like use people as a productive or healthy thing to do. Like I do think like discerning whether or not you want to marry that person is the point of dating. But I think at the same time that's caused me, and I feel like maybe other people can relate to this, is to like put so much pressure on like when you're first getting to know someone, especially if you like weren't friends beforehand, but even if you were friends beforehand, of like discerning after like the first few dates about whether you want to marry this person. Like that's kind of to me insane to think about. Like I feel like I have in the past put so much pressure on like, oh my gosh, you have to know like the first date. Like the first date is so important. And then I'm like, no, like I feel like it's caused me more stress than needed when I go into a first date being like I need to make some major life decisions rather than being like, you know what, I'm really interested in this person and I just want to get to know them better and I want to see where this goes. Like I don't love the phrase "sees where it goes" because I feel like it's giving like non-committal, but I think when it's grounded in a perspective of yes, the point of dating is to marry somebody, like seeing where it goes is just takes the pressure off of you have to know right now.
I agree. I also feel like I have a new perspective on that. So I guess I'll add to it. So I have had a boyfriend now. We'll have been dating a year next month, which
You
is
have a
exciting.
boyfriend,
I
Megan?
think the podcast already knew that.
I know.
Same person. But yeah, we've been dating.
Shout out.
Yeah, hello. So we've been dating. It'll be a year in next month. And so I feel like I'm also particularly excited for this podcast because I just have such a different perspective now that I have been in a serious relationship for that long about like my perspective on dating and like all the different things. So we'll unpack that too as we go here. But I feel like one of the reasons that I think like because I said my opinion was like date to marry and like have intentions of like wanting to get to know someone for like don't just like use somebody if you have no intention of like wanting to marry them. That's my opinion if someone is dating to marry. But also like the first couple months of my relationship, like I tried to be very relaxed and like not reading into too many things, not taking things too seriously because I feel like literally we were dating 2 weeks and I was like, okay, this is going to be literally like the longest dating period of my life because like I'm dating to marry, so like I would like to get married. And like then it just made me so impatient for the future of like, I feel like
Mhm.
I'm just like waiting up until like we can get engaged and married. And I really want, like, then I feel like I was like taking the relationship really seriously in ways that you don't need to take a 2 week relationship. Like, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like, I don't know, the first, I put the 3 month mark on like in my brain, partially because my brain likes to overthink and just like overplan everything. And so that was kind of needed for me. But also, I don't know, I just feel like even though like we already knew each other before we started dating, like we were just getting to know each other in a different way and like getting to know each other's communication styles and like what we all needed and just all the things that it's okay to not take things too seriously. Like I
Mhm.
saw something, I don't remember how long we'd been dating, but I was like looking up things online. I don't even remember what I was researching, but it said like don't treat a 2 month old relationship like it's 2 years old. Like treat a 2 month old relationship 2 months old because you're going to be in a different spot when you've been dating 2 years. You're going to have different maturity, different connection, like different communication. Like in 2 months, like you won't have all those things because you've only been dating 2 months. And so I feel like for me, it was really important to not like be so serious about things like the first couple months, even though like I very much intended to like make this a dating to marry relationship. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? Kind of felt
Mhm.
like I was rambling a little at the end there, but I don't know. I feel like it's important to not put too much pressure on yourself with the first couple dates, like Kelly said, and even with like the first couple weeks or months, like with dating someone, because I feel like you really need to give yourself some grace and like it might not be till you're in a relationship with someone that you really get to know them. And literally, dating is discerning whether you want to marry them. So it's okay to not know exactly what's all happening and like learn as you go.
Mhm. Yeah, I think with that, there is, for me, so much beauty in taking things slow. And like, I feel like having those conversations and not rushing in to define the relationship. Like, I think if both parties are like on the same page about what dating actually looks like, I think that's very important because like sometimes people will be like, "Oh, I don't want to define the relationship because I just want to be in this situationship," and I don't think that's healthy. But if you're both at the same mindset of we both are dating to marry and we want to see like where this goes, I think like not rushing to put labels on it can like be really beneficial to like build this level of like genuine friendship and connection. Like I just think that like I think I've said it in the other podcast, but I just think it's so important to like have a level of friendship and like genuinely care about the other person before like putting too much pressure on you need to know where this goes. And I also think as somebody, I'm hoping people can relate to this so I don't sound crazy, which I'm not, but like I'm a
No.
very all in hey. I'm a very all in type of person. Like I've always been that way of just like loving people really deeply, and I feel like in some capacities that's really good, in other capacities that causes me to get hurt because I just like go all in right away of just like wanting to love somebody and be there for somebody. And I think like something I've learned is just the importance of like I don't want to say like detaching yourself a little bit and like protecting yourself a little bit of like again with taking the pressure off right away like and being like, you know what, I'm still getting to know this person. I'm still learning more about myself like and not getting so like you said, treating the relationship where it's at rather
Mm-hmm.
than like getting so ahead of yourself
Mm-hmm.
because I tend to do that. And I think that's like an area I'm just like self-reflecting here, but I think that's an area where I can grow of like protecting myself too because like the only person that's going to protect you is yourself and like just being aware of who you are before you get into a relationship or start dating,
Mm-hmm.
which I also think we should talk about that.
I actually wanted to bring that up too. Yeah.
Yes.
Because I feel like that is uber important. I feel like I had so many assumptions about what it would be like to be in a relationship before I was ever in a relationship. And I feel like I've just learned that I had like three thoughts go through my head at
You
once.
got
Sorry.
this.
I feel like, well, one thing I wrote down is that your problems won't disappear once you get a boyfriend. As
Amen to
crazy and
that.
stupid as it sounds, when I was younger, I used to think, and this is probably because of social media and like movies and like just all the things that we learn about romance from like at a young age, where like the story, have you ever noticed like in movies and books, like a lot of times the story ends right at the point where like the guy gets the girl and they have their first kiss, or like it's the prom dance and they're like dancing and everything is like at the peak happiness. Um
Mhm.
and so then the movie just ends. So then I feel like that's a lot where my assumption has always been like, oh yeah, I have all these problems and like I have all these insecurities and like, oh, they're just like gonna go away once I get a boyfriend because my life's gonna be perfect. And I feel like it took me even like a couple months of being in a relationship to realize that like nope, like I still have all these problems that I'm responsible for fixing. And like I think it's so important that like you understand yourself and you know where the spots are that you need to grow. And I think being in a relationship can really um heighten your awareness of like where you need to grow, I guess, because then the
Mhm.
spots like your weak spots like really do shine through because there's someone else relying on you for emotional support, which I think is also like I didn't go to therapy. Like I didn't, because actually Kelly and I are both in therapy now, which
Shout
is
out.
which is really fun because we want to talk about that too. Like I didn't go to therapy because of a relationship, but like it has helped me in my relationship like so much. Like just learning how to communicate, like learning like this made me really mad. Oh, let me reflect on like why that made me mad, and like finding out like, oh, this is a trigger because when I was younger this happened, or like this happened in my past, and like all the cool things that therapy can do, just like making me more aware and like learning how to fix things for the future for my boyfriend.
I have so many things I want to say.
Please do.
One, yes, echoing Megan's thing about therapy. Yes, there'll be a podcast coming up about that. And I want to say my therapist is so funny. She was like, "Yeah, never date somebody who hasn't been to therapy," which like is an extreme, and I don't think she was saying it like that, but like just the ability to like work through your problems and know yourself and know who you are is so so important. And like going into a relationship feeling grounded in who you are and what you want is so important. And I definitely agree with that. So I thought that was cool. And then I had another thing to say, but now I'm like completely blanking on that. So that's really embarrassing.
That's okay. We can come back to it. Another thing that I wanted to say, like along the same line, was I think I kind of said it, but I'd written it down too. Like, you really need to understand yourself and like know what you need when you're in a relationship.
Hmm.
Because like I harp on my boyfriend all the time because um I've had more time to learn how to communicate. But like I feel like I'm just a lot I'm very in touch with my emotions. I think partially because I like to reflect and journal on like why I'm feeling the way I am, and like therapy has like totally helped me like figure out like why I feel the way I do and like what do I need from a situation. But like so much like when my boyfriend's struggling with something, I'm like tell me what you need, like tell me how I can help, like tell me how you're feeling, and he's like I don't know, which is totally fine, and I think that's a lot of people's experience. um and I think for myself, like I'm really glad that I've had the opportunities to reflect on like how am I feeling and like what do I need in this moment, because then like he can know how to love me best. Like if I
Hmm.
need to talk about something, like I feel like I've become very good at figuring out like what I need in a certain situation, and because of that I can communicate with him like, okay, if I'm quiet right now, that probably means that something's rolling through my head, so please ask me what's going on. And like he's actually, it's so sweet because he's done that like since we've had conversations about like me trying to figure out like what's going on in my brain. Like sometimes I'll just like, I won't even do it on purpose, but we'll be like having a tough conversation and then I'll just like grow quiet for a while. And then he like sees that I'm quiet and he's like, what's going on in your brain? And like, I just know that like he's such a good listener of like when I tell him what I need, he like listens to that and he takes it in, and then he's able to give me what I need because I communicated that.
That's so
I
sweet.
know.
That reminds me of what we define as love and loving somebody. It's willing the good of the other. And the only way that you know what the good of the other is by knowing that person.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, that's just such a beautiful example of willing the good of the other because he knows you so well.
Yeah.
Which, like, the only way that he knows that is because you've worked through that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's kind of where I'm at in my life right now. Like, if we're talking personally, like, I desire so much to, like, be so confident in myself and my worth because, like, we don't need to go into my whole history of self-worth, but just like relying on other people's validation to feel worthy. And now I've just had such a shift in the past like 6 months of like I feel so much more like worthy, I guess, not because of what other people say about me, but like how I view myself. And I think that has really impacted my perspective of dating because it's like if somebody's not interested or if I get rejected or whatever it is, it seems less of an attack on who I am. It's like there are so many great guys out there that I don't necessarily want to date, but that doesn't mean that I don't think they're just as worthy and just as important. And like I feel like when I remind myself of that, of I am an amazing person who like honestly people be lucky to have in their lives.
Amen.
So like when I start seeing that myself in that way and like acknowledging that I am so worthy of love and all of those things, it like it doesn't hurt as much when things don't go my way or when I feel rejected or sad. I'm not going to say that it's perfect all the times, but like it's easier to navigate relationships when you're more confident in who you are. And also like you can decide whether you want to date somebody or not. Like, can we just talk about the fact that it's okay to be picky and to have non-negotiables?
I also wrote that down. It's like we talked about this all before we like came together, but we really didn't, and we're all like talking about the same point. So I think it's so good. Like, yeah. Do you have more to say about that?
I have a lot more to say.
Okay.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like something that I keep telling myself is just because somebody likes you and you like them back doesn't mean you actually need to date them or should date them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just because there's a connection doesn't mean that it's right to date somebody. And like, I think like knowing that information now and learning it, like, it's changed my perspective of like, if somebody doesn't have a non-negotiable that you really, really want in somebody, like, don't enter a relationship because like you're not going to change that person. The point of a relationship is not to change somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want somebody who's going to like meet me at where I'm at and like we'll grow together, and if that person changes to be, I don't know, a better person, that's amazing, but like are you going to love that person for who they are right now? Like that's the question you should be asking yourself, not the potential of who somebody is.
I think that I agree with that. I was going to go on to something else, but actually I brought what you literally just said up to my therapist, and her response was really interesting because she kind of disagreed with that. Because we were talking about, like, in some ways, like, because I said to her, like, when, like, can you even ask the question, like, if they didn't change, would I love them just the way they are? And she's like, is that even a fair question? Because we are literally always changing. Like, that is humanity. Like, we're growing, we're changing, we're maturing. And like, I want to like put an asterisk next to that because like I don't think you should be like, oh, I don't like this person now, but I'm going to like change them to become this way and then I'll like them. Like you need to be okay with the way they are now. Like you like shouldn't like, you shouldn't only date someone for their potential. Like you should date them for who they are now. But I thought that was interesting because we've definitely talked about that question before of like, if they never changed, like would I still like them? And she was like, honestly, I feel like that's not really a fair question you should be asking because everybody will be changing. Like even us in the last year, we've both grown and matured. And like, I feel like we were both fantastic people back then and we're fantastic people now. And we've really grown in different ways.
Did she give a different question? Because like, I'm just thinking, where's the line? Like
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, so we talked about, cause that was in the context of like, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it was essentially, so we were talking, like one of our sessions was entirely about dating, which was great because she's a relationship therapist, like specifically, that's like her specialty. And so we both just like geeked out on it. So it was kind of cool. But she said that as long as people have the same core foundational values and beliefs, and you both want to grow and work together, and you have the agreement that like you want to be a unified front and you want to like put each other first and you want to work towards like giving each other what they need, then that is basically all you need for a relationship. Like the willingness to grow, I guess, which is I think also like really true and really special because like nobody's perfect. Like I feel like there are areas I can think of in myself that like they're not my favorite. Like I'm working on them. And I feel like being able to be with someone who's like patient and willing to like help me like work through my flaws and like still love me through it like makes me want to be better.
Mhm.
I was also going to say before that I think it's so important to be with someone who inspires you. Like I think you
Yes.
shouldn't settle. Like I agree. I think
Yeah.
it's so important, which also can be hard the older you get. And I feel like now that we're out of college, sometimes it's harder to meet people. It sometimes feels like the dating pool is kind of small if
Don't
you live
stress
in
me
like a
out,
smaller
girl.
area. But also even along with that, I'm saying that because I feel like sometimes people can feel like, oh my gosh, there's nobody. I need to find someone and settle. And like, otherwise, I'm never going to find anyone. And that is just so not true. Like, I think it's so important to keep your standards high and you will attract people for the standard that you have.
Hmm.
And I think it's so important to find someone that like with traits and qualities that you admire that you don't have, which I also talked about with my therapist. Like finding someone who has strengths that are your weaknesses or even like things in them like that inspire you and you think are like really just cool and like beautiful things like that make you want to be a better person, like that is such a good partner for you because then you're striving to be a better person and they probably are doing the same for you. Like seeing your strengths that are different from theirs and then makes them want to be a better person and then you can grow together because you have the good foundational beliefs and values and then you can grow as a couple.
Hmm. I think something that I want to emphasize that you said was the desire, like the want from
Mhm.
both people
Mhm.
to work together to make this work. Obviously, like at some points, you know that something's not right, but like I just think that's so important. Like if one person is like pulling all of the weight and the other person's just not really invested like that, that's not good for either of you. Like it's painful for the person to feel like they're pulling all the weight and it's painful for the person who's not pulling any weight to like feel like they need to put on this face for somebody else. You know, like I don't know. I just feel like it is so important that there is a willingness and a desire to be better and to grow even if like things are rough.
100%
And
agree.
I feel like this might be a hot take, but like I think sometimes people give up too easy. Like especially I'm not saying like just relationships, I'm saying like marriage more importantly. Like I don't know, I feel like the culture that we have sometimes is like, oh, if things are hard, like kind of give up. And I just like I've never been that type of person. I just feel like things aren't going to be perfect. We see relationships on TV, we think they're like amazing and beautiful and perfect all the time. It's just not reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, relationships are a lot of work. And like they're so beautiful and they're so meaningful and so worth it and so time consuming and so exhausting. All at the same time. And that's
Hmm.
literally just the beauty of having someone in your life that's important to you, whether that's a significant other or like friends. Like keeping relationships with friends are like that's a lot of work and like maintaining family relationships. Like it just takes a lot of work to be connected to other people.
Hmm. And sometimes that might be weird to say, but like I'm using this podcast as an example of like we got to the point where it's like, you know what, I don't feel like this is working for us anymore. Like we were like, let's take a break on it. And we weren't sure if we were ever going to come back to it. And now here we are and we're so excited, we're reinvigorated. It's like that could, I'm not saying like, I don't know what I'm trying to say with that, but like sometimes you just need space.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to figure things out for yourself. And then that doesn't mean go back to the same relationship you're in, but like sometimes it's just good to like work on yourself and like realize that things might not be working the way that you want them to. And like, who knows? Things might work out in the future. Like, you never know. I just feel like forcing things is not going to be helpful for anybody. And yeah.
I agree. Another thing I wrote down, what I've learned being in a relationship that I kind of didn't know before is that I literally wrote it down like if you don't have communication, you don't have a relationship. Like
Mm,
the vitality of communication in a relationship is just I just didn't know. I didn't know how important it would be to like be able to talk every day, be on the same page, not necessarily even like I don't talk to my boyfriend face to face every day. We don't even call every day. Like but I know like how he's feeling, what he's up to, like we have check-ins like so then when things do come up, like when issues like if I'm having a bad day and I'm upset and I like need something extra from him, then like we're already on the basis where he like checks in on me to like that it's not a big deal for me to be like, hey, I'm like sad or like I'm not doing okay. And then he can like
Mm.
respond to that. Where I feel like if you don't have communication, then your connection will just die because
Mhm.
that's just the reality of relationships.
I'm so proud of you, Megan.
Thanks.
That's like the first time I've heard you say that before, and so I'm glad we're recording this podcast because that's really cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
thanks. Cool.
communication is key, which they always say. Okay, so I have a question that I didn't even write down. What is too much communication? When should you be having conversations? Like the whole thing about timing is my thing of like when you're first getting into a relationship, like
Mm.
obviously it's going to be different for everybody, so it's not going to be like one answer, but like as somebody who like is trying to like protect herself, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
like how much is too soon and how much is like it not being enough of you not having enough communication, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're gonna have an answer, but like what are your thoughts?
Yeah. My first thought is that it just so much depends on the situation because I can think of like my relationship and like my friends, some of my friends are in relationships, and just thinking about like the amount of time you spend communicating like with a significant other, like it just totally varies on like how often are you seeing them, like are you doing long distance, like how long have you been dating, like how serious are you about dating? Because one of our friends or what yeah one of our friends was, I think, dating her boyfriend maybe like a year and a half, and then they got engaged. And so you have to be like super connected and communicating to like know each other well enough to get married in a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Versus like one of my friends now has been dating someone for like 3 years, I think. And like we've talked like a couple times, like, because I've asked her, like, well, how often do you see your boyfriend and like talk to him? And like that one, it's like twice a week maybe that you see them. And so it also just depends, like, how long have you been dating? And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I feel like for me, since I don't have a long distance relationship, like when I don't see or talk to my boyfriend like during a day, it makes me just like feel a little sad. Cause also just like, he's like one of my best friends. Like I feel like it's kind of like when you don't see your friend during the day and then you're like,
Mm-hmm.
I miss them. Like it's just that plus a romantic side too. And so that didn't really answer your question. That was just like my first initial
Yeah.
thoughts. Do
I
you
think
have thoughts?
that's the problem is I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And like for me to answer, I feel like I would just say the same thing of like, oh, it just depends. It just depends. But
Yeah.
I do think like it, I was gonna say, I do think it depends on whether or not, oh my gosh, on like if you've been friends first or if you're just meeting somebody and then you go in and like start going on dates with them.
Mm-hmm.
Then I feel like if you're just meeting, yeah, let's use examples. If you're just meeting somebody and you're like going on a date and that's like the first time you're really talking to them, I feel like the conversation should be light. It's like, do I even want to have these conversations about dating with this person before I even know whether or not I connect with them, whether or not I like want to talk to them and like I'm interested in what they do and what they say and like all these things.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in the beginning there, then you're probably going to like, I don't know, have this level of like banter and like maybe if you get into like one or two deep conversations, like that's good, but not too much right away. But if you've been friends for a while and then you start going on dates, I think it makes more sense for you to like jump in a little bit more to like the deeper conversations because you already know the basics of that person.
Mm-hmm.
But also like treating the relationship with how deep it is, how long it's been, and like, I don't know, maybe not burying your heart and soul right in the beginning.
Yeah. I've definitely had to, because like I said before, like I am about 6 steps ahead of where I usually, or where I like my feet are planted in this relationship. And like I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I'm learning to like come back to where I am. But like for sure at the beginning, I was like, oh my gosh, we need to talk about kids and where we're going to live and our careers and like all this stuff and how we're going to balance this and blah blah blah. And like that is just so unnecessary to have been dating like 3 weeks and talk about that
But that's
stuff.
the thing about I feel like women in general. Maybe guys are like this too, but I feel like women in
Oh
general,
yeah.
we just always
Oh
think.
yeah. I know I was
Like the first time I swear I meet a guy and I have like any interest, I'm like, oh, so what would our
What would our
my
children look
last
like?
name be?
Okay.
I'm like, okay, this is crazy.
Do my baby names match this last name that this man has?
Literally, like, it's really funny how we just think that way. And I think sometimes, I don't want to put stereotypes, but I think sometimes maybe guys, not all guys understand that that's what we're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I think also that goes back to self-awareness of, oh, I'm saying things right now that are not reality. I'm not even dating this person. I'm already thinking about their last name. Like, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it's like, take a step back, like, being self-aware enough that you're like, okay, I'm having these thoughts. They're not bad thoughts because, like, that is something I desire, is to get married. But, like, let's take it back to the present.
Yes.
And I think that's something that you have to learn for yourself.
Yes.
Of, like, knowing how your brain works.
Yeah. I've caught myself a couple times being like, thinking about certain things like way farther along in a relationship. And then I'm like, okay, let's just like pause on that, because also like pretty much 99% of like what goes in my brain comes out of my mouth. And so I feel like I've become really aware of that fact that like sometimes I just am talking about things that we do not need to be talking about for have been dating as long as we are. Like wherever we were this year, like I remember I was like at 3 months, I was like, no, I can't talk about those things until we've been dating 8 months, which is like dumb because like who cares? It's only a couple months. But also like that was just the check to myself. Like, okay, like I said, like let's treat this relationship 3 months old, because we have the rest of forever to talk about things and like figure stuff out. And going back to the fact, like if you are like on the same page of somebody as like, you know, you have good core based values that are the same, and you both are agreeing that you are going to like work as a team and figure things out, like you'll figure out the details. Like you'll figure out what your parenting style is. You'll figure out if you want shared checking accounts. Like those things are just like irrelevant when it comes, in my opinion, to choosing if you want to be with them or not.
Well, that's what I was about to say too, with like, I don't know, thinking about, oh, how many kids do you want? Because I've seen like healthy marriages that like they don't even agree on how many kids they want. Like they know they want kids. That's like something they're on the same page about. They don't know how many kids they want. Like life changes and people grow and relationships grow. And so like I really like what your therapist said about like having the same values and like beliefs and a willingness to work on the relationship, and like how that can still cause you to end up in marriage. Like it not end up, choose marriage, because we don't want to just be ending up. We want to choose that.
Yes.
But I think even now talking about that's how my thoughts rolling around in my head of like, we don't necessarily need to agree on how many kids you want when you're like dating somebody for a month, because who knows, you might change your mind and like by the time you're married.
Exactly. Because we are all human beings, and human beings will change throughout life. So you can't necessarily be like, oh, I like this version of my boyfriend, so he's going to stay this way forever, and I'll choose him, and we'll get married and live happily ever after.
And that's not good.
No.
We don't want him to stay the same. We want him to grow and to learn and to change.
Amen.
And that's why you got to have a willingness to grow and learn and change. Because if you don't have that, you're not like, it's just going to be unsuccessful.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like, you know the phrase, when you know, you know. And like that is absolutely like the worst thing in the world for someone to tell you until you're like in a relationship, and then you're like, oh wait, like I don't know, when you just like know you know. And in some ways, like angrily enough, I think it might be true, but I feel like
don't say that.
But I
canceled.
But I feel like the concept kind of like reflects back to what my therapist said of like, if you know that like you both like whatever is important to you, like if you like, for both of us, like it's important we have a good Jesus loving man, like that is like a foundational value for both of us. So if someone has that, like different values, like whatever's important to you, as long as those things are right in the beginning and like your non-negotiables are covered and you're both willing to like wanting to go into a relationship, like it just feels right, like go for it.
You know, I want to say something about the when you know situation, because I've heard this phrase and I've seen this as like a meme on Instagram for so long about like the praying to God of like, if this man is not the man for me, like take him out of my life. Girls, when I tell you it works. Like it sounds silly, but like when you ask God for clarity of like when you know, because sometimes we can't really trust ourselves. I'm not gonna lie, because we're imperfect. We don't know.
Mhm.
But like asking God and saying, "Hey, Jesus, if this not is not the man for me, just give me clarity. Just like let me know." And like he does it. He works. Like that, I don't know. I feel like that has helped a lot with just like we don't need to go into a whole bunch of faith things, but I do think it's important to talk about faith when it comes to relationships because that is the most important thing in both Megan and I's lives, and we want relationships centered on Christ.
Mhm.
So I do think it's important to like I don't know, really surrender the relationship to God because like point of relationship, Megan's nodding very
Yes.
aggressively.
I was just gonna bring that
Um
up.
like the point of the relationship is to serve God and through that relationship. And like I don't know, when I've been like, you know what, God, like I'm just gonna trust you, and it's really hard to surrender that. It's really hard because I want to know the plan and I want to know the guy and I want to know all these things that I'm just not gonna get an answer to until God knows I'm ready. Because there was something about that I saw that was like, even if something is right for you and it's not the right timing, it's still wrong.
Mhm.
I don't remember what an example would be of that, but like, I don't know. Like if you're not ready for that relationship, but it's the right person, like it's still wrong if you rush into something. And so like trusting in God, trusting in his timing. I'm not going to say it's an easy thing to do because I know some people that like really struggle with like trusting in God's timing because it is hard. But like I don't know. I just think like surrendering that part of your life and like even once you're in a relationship, like realizing that that person is not yours until they're married, until you're married. And even then, like they're still God's.
Yeah. You just finished the sentence I opened my mouth to say because I totally agree. I feel like that's something I really struggled with, especially like at the beginning of my relationship because this is the first boyfriend I've ever had. Like because I've had a lot of potential people in the past, but nothing's ever worked out. And I think that in itself caused me to just have a lot of doubt and anxiety when it came to men because I was always just afraid that they were going to like change their mind and leave because that's
Mhm.
what people did. Or they never wanted to date me, but like they like led me on in whatever way, or I had assumptions about. Anyway, like I feel like it never worked out until this time. And so, like, the first couple months of dating, I was just so scared that he was going to change his mind and leave because that was just the
Mhm.
experience I had. And I had to surrender him to God in my heart day after day. Like that was such a big thing. Like Jesus, like he belongs to you first. He is not mine. He is not the most important thing in my life. He is not going to fulfill my needs like you will. Which actually I just said that and I got deja vu to our first dating podcast because I remember saying that then too. And this was something I feel like I really learned and soaked up from my dating fast before I started dating this guy. Um because that was just a reminder that like no man will fulfill the God-sized hole in my heart. Like you can go
Amen.
you can go searching for like all the non-negotiables you want and all the high quality things and you can find the highest quality man with the same values as you and you both like each other and you want to date, and if you make him your entire world, your relationship will fail because you won't have Jesus as the foundation. And that is why in my life, it was so important that I found a man that was already following Jesus and he can
Mhm.
hold me accountable to that as well.
Mhm.
Because that is just so important. And you can't do that alone. Like, you get really distracted in a relationship because like you're infatuated with this person. Like, this is new, this is exciting, like, this is romantic. But they are not the be all end all of your life, and they never will be, even when and if they become the most important human in your life. Like Jesus will always be number one, and it is so important that you keep him at the forefront of your relationship.
Girl, you could have been like a professional speaker right there.
Pop off.
That was some major, major information right there. I was like sitting here like like just awestruck. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in the presence of a genius."
God is good.
But and all the time, God is good.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't even know how to follow that up because that was I'm speechless. I really am.
Boom. Yeah. No, I think faith is important. So important.
Oh, yeah, I had written down being equally yoked, but I think we kind of talked about that of like both having an individual relationship with God and then like sharing that faith together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like both having that desire, again, desire to want to have a good faith with Jesus, and then also a desire to be in a relationship with that other person. And like, I think too that there is not an expectation for us always to be on when it comes to our faith. Like, that is amazing and that's what we desire. But also, like, life is hard and we go through valleys, and Meg and I can both attest that we have not always been strong in our faith at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, having that expectation for your boyfriend, your significant other, whatever, like, is not realistic. So I think understanding that too, of like, my faith is really amazing right now, but I know, like, I'm human and I'm going to try my best to keep it like this, but sometimes it might not be like this. And like, I don't want my boyfriend to like love me less because my relationship isn't with God isn't like where I want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, like, going back to like that desire of having a good relationship with God, even when things are really hard, and like being willing to work on that is an important trait for somebody that you want to be in a relationship to have,
Yeah.
if that's important to you.
And find someone who inspires you in your faith.
Yes.
Because yeah, my boyfriend has such a rock solid faith, and like, even if he doesn't think so in his heart or his brain, like the way that just he lives his life makes me want to be a better Christian. And I feel like I have a good grasp on my faith and my relationship with Jesus, and it's just so important that like that's something you're both working on individually so you can like motivate each other.
Yeah, and that's what we're called to do, is to like help other people and to love other people when they're going through hard times.
Mm-hmm.
And like, not just expect everybody to be like perfect and the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
Like, this reminds me of this, like, being picky. Like, I saw something on Instagram that was like, this man is gonna like help you through you giving birth and like your parents dying and like all of these things, and the same, you're going to do that for your husband one day, like being that support system, and like how important it is to choose somebody who you know will work through things with you and like support you.
Yes. Yeah. I had like one thing I feel like I don't know, learned this year is the right word, but I feel like I just like realized that as I'm maturing and like in a relationship, like when people talk about their type, I truly feel like you shouldn't consider physical features in your type, because it's just like not important at the end of the day. I feel like, okay, you need to be like physically attracted to the person. Like, this is just assuming that like you're attracted to the person. But like personality and like emotions are so attractive in a person. And you really need to like, I feel like you need to like be attracted to someone's heart over like their eye color. Like, that's just like irrelevant at the end of the day.
I remember this. I think you said it in one of the dating podcasts, but you're like, his eye color is not going to get me to heaven.
Yeah, for real. And that's like so true. But I feel like a lot of times when people are talking about like, oh, they're not my type, like, I don't know. I think also like when people say that, they don't necessarily always mean physical features. But like, I really do think when people are talking about type in general, it's just like a persona, a personality, like emotions, like social traits, like things like that. I feel like those are like the things when I think of like your type.
Yeah, I agree. I think just not disregarding people right away is important.
I agree. We kind of talked about that. I'll ignore my note on that. I don't want to like change to like from wholesome things to other things, but I did have another thought.
What's not wholesome?
Well, no, I kind of wanted to like touch on dating apps because we did a little bit before, but also not just dating apps, but like, so not to like disclose too much information, but there was like an event in our area lately.
Oh my gosh.
It was like a singles event, like a singles mixer. And like, I'm just curious, like, I feel like it'd be interesting to talk on that. Like, how do you feel about, I guess, like dating apps, going to like single mixers, getting set up on blind dates? Like, what are your thoughts about like more trying to like manufacture a relationship or meeting versus just like organic?
I will say through and through, organic is what I like. I feel like I'm not saying any of those things are bad, just like me personally. I think it's just like when things are organic, I just like it more. Like I just like building a friendship with somebody, and sometimes I feel like there's a lot of pressure on dating apps. Also, dating apps just like I just don't really like them. I don't like meeting people online, and like honestly a lot of it feels shallow, and I feel like it's more about validation than it is actually about dating, and I just like I don't know. I'm not I'm not a huge fan. I know it works for some people. I'm just kind of old fashioned when it comes to like wanting to talk to people in person. So, if we're going to the singles mixer conversation, I do feel like that is a better way if you're like trying to be intentional. I'm not like telling people what to do, but like for me, like I think that's a better way for me personally if I were to try to like find a relationship versus like meeting somebody online. Just because you get to like actually talk to people, and like even if something doesn't work out as a relationship, like I'm in this era of my life where like I'm always meeting new people, and it's really amazing. And I think that goes back to like the very beginning of like people being afraid that they have to settle because there's not going to be anybody else out there. And I just want to echo is like that is not true. Like you just have to put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just have to try, and it can be exhausting and really tiring, but like it's also just so cool to like learn about new people and meet new people, because then you learn something about yourself. And so like if there's a single mixer and like you wanna try something, I feel like there is a connotation, I'm not gonna lie, that like it's kind of negative around like singles mixers where it comes to like people just seeing that as like an act of desperation rather than like a genuine desire for a relationship. And so I definitely acknowledge that there is that. And to be honest, I've kind of had that feelings towards singles mixers, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that is the case with somebody, and you just kind of got to get to know them to see if they're like just desperate for a relationship or if there's just like a genuine interest and they just want to see where things go.
Yeah, we had that conversation surrounding the singles mixer event that happened because um I thought like this specific one, like this specific event just like seemed so fun. And
Mm.
everybody like people really do, I think, have the connotation of like, oh, I don't want to go to that. Like I don't want to seem desperate, like looking for somebody. But um I guess the thoughts I had about it were like, why are we all pretending that when we're out in public trying to get to know people that that's not our intention? Like I feel like for a lot of people, it's important, like especially when you're single in your mid 20s and you want to start a family someday. Like I feel like it's definitely on your mind when you're out meeting new people that like you're looking for a potential romantic partner. So
Yeah.
my like when we were talking about this then, I was like, why is everyone pretending that we're not looking for that? And just because we're like
Mm.
labeling it on a poster, like it becomes like an act of desperation. And so in some ways I thought it was just cool like to have an event where everyone like was single and like looking for something more, because then also like you don't have to go through the awkward stage of like, do you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, and like are you looking for something, and like you kind of just assume they are like based on the fact that they're at that thing.
Mhm.
I will say with both, with all of dating apps like single mixers and like getting set up on blind dates, um there's always the aspect of your expectations surrounding the meeting this person. Like it's when you're just like at an event or out like getting drinks or something and like you meet someone, like there's not an expectation that you need to like be romantic or think about them romantically. But if you meet someone on a dating app or at a singles mixer and you're getting to know them, like there's always that expectation, kind of like, oh, like we're kind of just assuming like we're both considering each other romantically. So then there's pressure that you might feel like on yourself, or I feel like I would if I was in that
Mhm.
situation of like, well, I need to know now, like, do I want to date them? And like, that's
Mhm.
something that there's not, like, there isn't that pressure, that same pressure, like if you just meet someone out in the wild.
And I think that's why I'm more of like an organic person, is because then it's like I'm more authentic in that way. But I think something that I've really been growing in is just being authentic all around, like no matter what, whether it's on a date or like just like with a group of friends, because like you don't want to get into a relationship being somebody that you're not. Like, and then that person has like this perceived notion of who you are, but you're not actually that person. And then it just is like, oh, well, I thought you were like this, but you're actually like this. And like, that doesn't mean they won't like you anymore. But like, I'm just such an advocate, and I know it's hard because you care about what other people think. But I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? I just want to be authentic because honestly, I like who I am. And if that person doesn't want to like pursue a relationship with me because they don't like who I am authentically, like that's not my problem. And like honestly, it sounds
And
so
that's
aggressive,
on confidence.
but like it's not
Yeah.
my problem. I don't know. Like I also just think like confidence is so attractive, and like when somebody knows who they are and is authentically them, like that just draws you to them. Like I don't know, like that just ends up being the people that I like is just somebody who's like really confident in who they are and doesn't really care what people think, like to an extent, like within social norms a little bit. We don't need no strange people, but anyways, like I just feel like let's just be ourselves, which sounds so like people are probably gonna hate me for saying that, but just like wait, I need to stop caring what people think. It's not my problem. But like I don't know. I just think be real, be who you are, and if that person doesn't want to date you, then okay, let's move on. You know,
Yeah.
that was kind of tea, but
That's a hot take.
it is a hot take. But also, I feel like it's not.
Yeah. I'd agree. I think, yeah, you need to authentically be 100% yourself unapologetically, and the people that are meant to be in your life will be.
And I'm not saying that I'm always like that. I'm not lying. We're all fake at some point. Well, I don't want to say fake, but like
Like we all care what people think
very
at some certain
self-conscious
points.
about what we're doing and
Yeah.
how we're showing up. And like I was talking to my therapist a little bit about this, and she was like, well, you would hope one day that like the guy that you marry is not gonna like care if you're have messy hair and sweatpants and no makeup. Like I don't know, like I tend to like try to dress nicer when I'm like in public, like going to something, because I'm like I just want to not keep up an appearance, but just like I want to feel confident in myself. And like obviously it's okay to do, but like I don't know, just reminding yourself that like you are a human being, and like being authentic in who you are, and like not always like dressing the nicest or being like I don't know, physically, emotionally, whatever it is, like on your A game all the time is like okay.
Yeah.
Like that's just real. That's real life. And I think that's something I can work on too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the signs that I was in like a secure, stable relationship was I started wearing less makeup just day to day. And I
And I'm
like
so proud of you.
like I can tell like the progression of like when we first started dating versus like now. Like I put way less effort into my outfit, which is also like in some ways like really good for my like self-confidence, and also I
Mhm.
guess that just proves that like I feel like he truly loves me for my heart and not like my outfit, which is also really good.
Mhm.
And just like, I don't know, like along with that, just like feeling like you can be authentically yourself and you don't always need to be on your A game at 100% for someone to like feel like you deserve love.
Yeah. And I think that also just shows how safe you feel in that relationship,
Mm-hmm.
because you're just like comfortable
Yeah.
in who you
Yeah.
are, which is just so cool. And that's what it should be like, folks.
Yeah.
You should be so comfortable that you can be looking like a rat or feel like you're looking like a rat, and he's still gonna love you.
And sometimes I'll make comments of like, I feel like a rat. And he's like, don't say that. Like, I think it's really
That's
cute.
so
Because I feel like in general, I do really good at like feeling confident in myself, like even when I'm not dressed to my like A game. And like, he always is like, no, like you are always beautiful. Don't ever say that. Like, that's not true. Like,
hmm
so get you a man, like, keep the standards high because
Yeah.
they're out there.
We got It's just like where, like I feel like I need to
Yeah.
put
Well,
on some glasses to see them. Sorry.
okay, we're at almost 59 minutes. So if we want to keep
Whoa.
this under an hour, we probably need to wrap it up here.
Yeah, we could go on for a while, but
We could.
I think that was a really good. I think this is our best dating podcast so far. So listen to this one. Don't listen to other ones. Just kidding. You can. But
As we say that at the very end, because they probably listened to the whole thing at this point. So thank you for sticking with us.
yeah, you guys are the OGs.
This was fun.
We love you.
If you can't tell, we like talking about this stuff. So if
Yeah.
you ever see us in person, feel free to stop us at the grocery store, ask for an autograph, and talk about your dating life.
Oh, I would love to give an autograph.
Yes. Specifically at the grocery store, though.
Yep, nowhere else.
Yes.
Not the department store, grocery store.
Yes. Right in the produce section.
I'm probably gonna be getting some grapes or something.
Yes.
Anyways.
Anyways, we love you. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Bye.